Hello and welcome to the All About Pigeons podcast. Chris, is there anything you wanted to open up with on this podcast today?
I'm in my loft. It's one of my favorite places on earth. That's all I got to say about that.
Right on. Yeah, we'll definitely come back to that because, yeah, it's definitely a nice, fun place to hang out there. I wanted to start with, so I got the Encyclopedia of Pigeon Breeds in front of me here by Wendell and Levi. And in that book, he has his opener, kind of like a prehistory of pigeons, and he talks about, propagation, the facts and lives of pigeons. And he has a nice section in here all about lofts and designs of lofts. So, this is kind of like one of the foundation books for pigeon keeping. So I thought we'll just touch on some of what he calls the basic principles for a pigeon house. 1, sound, unleaking roofs and sides. 2, separate lofts for mated pairs and for youngsters. 3, a double nest. 4, headroom inside the loft for the breeder, 7 feet high in front and about 6 feet high in the back. Number 5, loft ceiling at any point not to be over 7.5 feet so that the flying birds will not be out of reach. Number 6, no double walls, which are hiding places for rodents, parasites, insects, snakes, etc. Number 7, on open front lofts, the floor should have a gentle slope from the back towards the open front. So he kind of touched on it. Just reading those right now, I've made a mistake with some of my loft conversions, I guess, because the only really legit lofts that I have on my property would be the one kit box I built for my son's rollerbirds, and then that one that you made out of steel for roller pigeons. The other 2 lofts I have are old. There used to be other buildings that I converted over, and because of that, I don't necessarily line up with what Levi would like to see in a proper loft.
I'm feeling pretty good about this loft right now.
Did you check off all those items there?
I was. No kidding. I was sitting there. I was looking around. The only thing that I could do better in here, I think, is more ventilation. But I would have to take off so much of the building. Wow. Now that it's very hot in here, it still could be better. It's got a shingle roof on it, that kind of holds the heat in.
Yeah.
Could be better.
Yeah. There was another article I read in the Racing Pigeon Digest about a guy who, he talked about, Belgian lofts and stuff like that are so much different because, so he's in Illinois, and he's talking about, in the summertime we're over 100 degrees, and in the wintertime we're in the negatives with 10 inches of snow. And they'll also get insane winds out there too. So you got to build something where year round your droppings will be able to dry. I think that's a big part. Ventilation, and if you're in a place that gets that cold, you got to insulate just for the dropping's sake. The birds are tough. The birds, they've done some crazy stuff with what temperatures birds can handle, and it's not so much for them as it is just for the overall health of the loft. And you're fighting heat. You guys' nighttime temperatures in the summertime, it's insane that it never really gets cool. They're constantly in a hot building, it seems like.
Well, they eat pretty good. Honestly, they surprise chicken does. But so right now it's so humid because we're in the middle of the monsoon season. It's so humid, and when I say humid, I say 30 to 40%. But when it's 105 degrees, that stifles everything, and it's tough to deal with. Never get any cold water. The birds is drinking 95 to 100 degree water all the time, even out of the tap.
Yeah.
They do pretty good. But yeah, as long as you got to keep it dry. And this building in here, it feels real muggy. I added a bunch of vents in here in the floor.
Okay, I was just going to say if they're down there in the bottom.
Yeah, I added 6 more vents. They're about a square foot a piece, so about 8 square foot. And then now I've got the doors off of it, and it's got that screened-in porch, so it's all of that ventilation too. I hope it's better. I think it's better.
So, being that that's a new construction loft that you just did, can you kind of go into it a little bit about, how you built it and why you built it that way?
Well, the only reason it is this way is because I had this building. The building had an accident when they moved it, and they wrecked the floor, and they crashed the side of it. And so I got a pretty good deal on it. It's not much good for, now it is after I rebuilt it, but it wasn't much good for anything.
And it's a portable, like, shed building, right? Like a OSB style?
Yeah, it's an old, tough shed.
Okay, gotcha.
Probably about 20 years old, but it looks good inside. It never leaked. But anyway, so it was a little tough. So I cleaned it up, fixed some of the floor and all that stuff. And everything that's in this building is something that I have salvaged, inside and out. The only thing that I purchased was a piece of linoleum for the floor and a piece of metal for the floor on the patio. That's it.
Okay.
But that's why I went about it this way. If I was to do it again, it'd have a flat roof and a whirlybird.
Oh yeah.
Because this is not a flyer. This is not a flying loft, so I don't have to worry about the birds landing on the whirlybird or anything.
Yeah. Yeah, and those do work really good for sucking heat out and stuff like that. And so the steel for the floor you got, what exactly, like what gauge and everything is it that you got? Because it's a drop through, right?
Yeah, so it's 1 inch or it's 3/4 expanded metal.
Okay.
And I think it's I want to say it's 14 gauge or 12 gauge. But
okay.
It was relatively inexpensive when I bought it. Prices have changed a lot. Yeah. But I think you could still, if you got to a good steel yard where they sell a ton of it, you could get it reasonably priced, probably $60 to $75 a sheet now. It was like $35 a sheet back when I got it.
Okay. And how many lofts do you have?
Just 2 going right now.
Just 2? Oh.
Yeah.
And is that a fly and a breeder?
I got, a flyer and a breeder. And then I got the little chicken coop loft for the king pigeons.
Okay, yeah.
But that's kind of... Go ahead.
I was going to say, that's, it's... With these lofts, it's... they had a picture in this book of William Levi when he was a kid, and he had just stacked a bunch of boxes, and that was his loft, when he was younger. You can really get away with almost anything. And then I'd say there's that side of it, and then the other side of these really, really amazing lofts that are bigger and nicer than my home, like Europe and places like that.
Oh,
where
sweet.
But
they're built to last. They're built forever, man. Some of them have brick foundations.
Yeah. Oh, and and it looks like a house. They got beautiful siding and trim around the windows and landscaping out front. That's the other side of it for sure. And
they don't mess around.
And I'll say this too, that these guys are racer guys, and this is what they do professionally most of the time. It's just like any other business, you put money back into it, and you remain that way successful. The more like hobbyist aspect of it, I've seen articles before where they talk about converting old sheds, converting old buildings. So my flyer loft is what used to be our outdoor shower. So it's roughly 6.5 feet tall. It's kind of trapezoidal shaped because we had a 50-gallon barrel on top. 4 feet wide, 3 feet wide, 4 foot long. And I just took old dog crates and cut and grinded and put them together for a little aviary outside. And that's my fly loft. And I'm not flying a ton of birds out of there. I'm flying like 6 or 8 right now. And then I got a breeder loft, which, as I was reading through Levi's description, that part where he talked about the double wall, I've noticed that was a problem because this building it's an 8x8 and it was made out of pallets, so 2 pallets wide all the way around. And pallets, they got that big gap in the middle when you seal off both ends. And I've had problems with mice in the past, and I took care of that. And then I had a problem with a snake a year or two ago. I don't know what it was. I thought my baby chickens were getting abducted by aliens. I would just go in there and they'd be gone, and no sign of nothing. I'm looking all over for scratch marks and stuff, and then I just had it one day. I was sitting in there and waiting, and I saw this big bull snake come sliding in, and I'm like, that's what it is. That's what's going on here. I grabbed that sucker, and he whipped around and got me, and I got rid of him. But those double walls, and if you can, my goal is to build a nice loft, build it to kind of like Levi's talking about here, and you build a really good loft, you can prevent a lot of issues. I would have not had issues with that snake eating my babies and mice, and because you can have all kinds of problems later on down the road with a poorly designed loft, sickness, all kinds of things. You can get by with making it out of another building, but I do think that if you can build one intentionally, like that loft that you brought up here, that steel one, that thing's got great ventilation through the floor, through the top. It's big. It's so much bigger than what it actually looks like. It's kind of deceiving. We could actually hold a lot of birds, because I think, am I right that the standard is 1 square foot per bird?
I don't know. I honestly don't. I don't know. That sounds about right. That if that was 4x8, it'd be 32 birds.
Yeah.
I've got 32 birds, or I've got no, I don't have 32 birds. I have 26 birds in a 4x8 with the fly cage. That's my racer loft. There's 26 in there, and it's nice. It's not all flappy and dirty and when you walk in there, it's not all overcrowded and stuff.
Yeah,
it's not too much to take care of. I really like the way that one's put together. It's got the wired floor and the slats from the wood fence. A lot of ventilation. Ventilation. It's really nice that way. And one thing that I think everybody should have is one of these old scrap patio doors. People they get ugly. People take them off their house and they give them away all the time.
Yeah.
I've been lucky enough to score 2 of them, so I got one on each loft, and they're awesome.
Nice.
And it's all ventilated too, so I don't have to worry about none of that being blocked off. That's a big vent, so that's cool. It's nice and breezy in here right now.
Nice. Yeah, that's one thing I thought about, because with my 8x8 breeder loft, I thought about just taking a 2-inch hole saw and punching some hole saws through those hollow walls, unfortunately, but sticking a piece of PVC screened off just to get more floor ventilation going through there. Because it does I got windows on all sides, and I can open and close windows, but the windows on all sides thing didn't really work out either, because in the summertime I got a tarp on the inside to block off the summer one, just to kind of help with the temperature a little bit, and keep it from turning into a solar oven on those poor guys. So tarping off the west and south window helps, and then in the wintertime, of course, I'll bring it back off, and they got a nice little view of 360 degrees that way. It was never meant to be. It was just an 8x8 pallet building. It's been a washing laundry room. It's been a playroom for the kids. It's been all kinds of things, and now it's a pigeon loft. So I really would like to get a nice, purposeful built loft, and being able to separate the hens and the cocks. That's an age-old technique, especially for breeding and stuff, that I'd really like to partake in, to have way more control over that, because it's always been a free-for-all, just open breeding going on all the time.
Yeah. No, mine are all pretty well paired up. They don't seem to want to change after they've been put together for a while.
But and that's yeah.
I can't split anything up right now. I don't have the there's no dividers in here or anything, so it's just kind of they're doing their thing. I have to trust them to be monogamous.
Well, that's the thing. Like, if I know with rollers, I had my son's rollers in with my racers before, and he had this one cockbird that was just hitting up all the females and just nest jumping.
The dudes are busy. They if you got a good cockbird in there, he'll steal all of them. I got those king pigeons. There's only one cockbird in there, and he's running them all, just doing this thing.
So you were talking about, so you got a fly loft and a breeder loft. Can you go into why you chose one to be a fly loft, one to be a breeder, how it's set up to determine what you're doing with it?
Okay, so a long time ago, not so far away, I started with one pigeon, and then I got a couple, and then ended up with too many to keep as pets in the house. I told somebody I was interested in racing homers, and they were gracious enough to give me a whole bunch of really nice stuff. So I needed a spot to put them, so I set out and I built that flying loft. And then I've been breeding in individual cages, kind of in an indoor setting, and then now I was fortunate enough to come across this building and put this together. So I mean, I really didn't pick one over the other. I really wanted to fly birds, though. I was flying the rollers too, and they were in a different loft, so that was really cool to me, and I was really excited about getting some homers flying. So I did the flyer loft first.
Are you doing perches or nest boxes in your flyer loft?
I've got 5 nest boxes left. Just the ones that they picked. I took everything else out because I'm fixing to move everybody over to the breeder loft once I get all that straightened out.
Okay. So is it just the size factor that you want the bigger loft for the breeders?
I really didn't need that much room for the breeders, but it was too busy. Way too busy in there. When you're trying to move your flyers and that kind of stuff, and the flyers are all adolescents, they're all jumping around like crazy most of the time, so they don't get along with the pairs, and everybody's struggling for territory. It's a constant back and forth.
And so with your roller setups, you're doing perches or nest boxes in those?
So they're in the breeder loft. They got nest boxes and perches in there.
Oh, okay, I got you.
Yeah, there's like I don't know. There's more perches than there are nest boxes. They got all kind of spots to chill.
Yeah, but I've heard before you want to have more perches and or nest boxes than you have birds, so that way there isn't that like fighting for territory.
Well, they'll pick 2 boxes. Like those rollers in the house, they got 2 different spots they want to be all the time.
Yeah.
They'll drop eggs in one spot, and then they'll chill in another spot, and then next thing you know, you got eggs in, not eggs in both spots, but you got babies in one spot and eggs in another, and they're going back and forth.
Mm-hmm. And even like breed specific, if you're dealing with like some fancy pigeons that got like the real feathered out feet and stuff, you'll see different, people using different stuff for the flooring. They use the dowel rods for the perches and stuff like that, really trying to take care of those feathers on the feet. Roller, the kit boxes for roller pigeons, those are pretty one of a kind, unique to that style. I mean, they're tiny little boxes with a ton of birds in them, and it's a really controlled way to fly birds. I mean, it's similar to racing, but it's its own thing for sure too.
It's different. It takes a minute to get used to, and until you've seen it work, it doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me.
Yeah.
At first I was like, oh my goodness, I could never put that many birds in that box.
Yeah.
But if you do it right, and you do it with the wire floor and all that good stuff, you get the ventilation. They're not standing in their poop. It keeps them from breeding. because you don't want your rollers breeding while you're flying them. It's just a pain in the butt.
Right. I've heard about the hens. If a hen has an egg inside of her kind of developing and she goes into a crazy wicked spin, then that could cause all kinds of problems with that egg coming out in flight.
I never heard about all that stuff.
I never seen.
Thought that maybe we'd see an egg fall out of one, but I never heard about all that stuff. Nobody warned me, so I flew them.
Yeah.
Maybe that's why they didn't roll, because they had busted eggs.
Yeah, well, that's I talked to my son about those rollers you gave him, those breeders, and I was like, hey, Chris said that you could fly those, and well, I don't want nothing to happen. What if a hen has an egg in her? It's something that we read a while ago, and it's like, all right, but
I don't know, man. Those things were an egg. They were a machine. They made eggs all the time, and it's the hassle because they want to sit, so they don't want to fly. They want to watch their eggs.
Yeah.
So then they're always hopping back in.
Yeah. If you're not pushing them or something like that, then I would think that they would sit on their eggs. You're not hand picking them and taking them out for a toss or something like that. Then if you're just opening it up and giving them that choice, then I wouldn't imagine that they would stay on the eggs.
Well, they're flighty. They will get off the eggs. You just walk in there. They'll move. You don't even have to disturb them. They'll do it themselves.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the kind of thing about a roller. They fidget a lot more than a racer does.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that's one of the, we should probably do a segment on rollers sometime, because that definitely it's a popular breed.
Nothing about rollers, man.
You've got rollers though, and
they're cool.
Yeah, like I said before, I love performing birds, and man, those are performing birds. They really put on a show for you.
Oh yeah.
That's pretty cool, and that's really popular right now. A lot of roller guys out there, and especially where we are, you see a lot of the roller guys there too. But well, let's wrap this one up for the lofts and stuff. But thanks for all your insights on it. Thanks for doing it inside of a loft, man. That's super authentic. I appreciate that.
They've been super quiet. They've made zero noise this whole time because of the storm. They're all hunkered down. They're just chilling.
Yeah, that's right.
They're staring at me, going, "What's he yapping about?"
Is he talking to us?
Right. I got the two roller birds up there kissing. That's all they're doing there.
Nice. Well, I'll get some babies out of them soon. So, alrighty, man. Thanks for being on again, and we'll talk again soon.
How about later?